had the most audience questions about the upcoming midterms, 2026. Many ask, will they be held? My personal excitement last week with Democrats overperforming, way overperforming, means that we're so capable of overperforming in the midterms when it's likely to be harder to vote. So I'm curious, what worries you about the midterms and what gives you hope?
Yeah, this is a great question. Let me tell you what doesn't worry me too much. I think that there will be elections in 2026. And here's why. Wannabe dictators love to cloak themselves in the legitimacy that an election brings to them. You know, Vladimir Putin still holds elections in Russia. The issue isn't whether you hold elections, it's whether they're free and fair. And in states like yours and states like mine, and really across the country, the challenge will be holding free and fair elections, because Donald Trump has made it clear that he intends to attack the right to vote. A lot of you have probably heard about the SAVE Act, which is the embodiment of much of what was written in Project 2025 about voting. And it's a measure that would require, I think this is one of the most really troubling parts of it, it would require you to prove that you're an American citizen before you can register to vote. And not just the first time you register, by the way. If you move, if you need to update your registration, you would have to prove that you're an American citizen again. So how many of you have handy documents that are ready to prove your citizenship? A lot of y'all have them, and I bet it's largely a passport. Is that correct? There are a couple of other things that'll work. Some kinds of military ID. There's a conversation about real ID and whether or not that might work. But mostly we're talking about passports, which cost a lot of money to get. And I'm from Alabama. I know a poll tax when I see one. If you have to pay $200, $200 plus, because you have to get a birth certificate and other documents to get the passport, you have to have a photo taken, and then you've got to pay the, whatever it is, the $160 fee for the passport itself. That is a poll tax. And, you know, it's just so hard to understand how difficult this is going to be. If you are a woman and your name has been changed through marriage and your documents don't match up, you may not be able to vote without jumping through a lot of difficult hoops. A lot of students go off to college without documentation of citizenship, and it may become difficult for students to vote, which, by the way, is intentional because they do not want students voting where they go to school. So a lot of very complicated issues, but not the least of them, and maybe y'all feel this less in Texas. I certainly don't feel this in Alabama because I actually have to vote in person on election day because we have almost no, well, we have no early voting, very little absentee voting. But under this SAVE Act rule, to register to vote, you would have to take your identification down to the registrar in your county and register in person. There would be no more online registration, which is really a big deal even in Alabama, where under the Motor Voter Act, you can register at the same time you get a driver's license or update your boat license. And that would be gone. There would be no more souls to the polls, a great tradition in the Black community where people register to vote after church and then go and vote together doing early voting. So look, I think what we have to be prepared for is the fact that we're going to face unprecedented challenges. What gives me hope, though, is what Donald Trump can't do. The Constitution does not define a role for the president in running elections. Running elections belongs to the states, where we hold 50 individual elections conducted by our friends and our local family members and friends at local polling places. And Congress can have some say-so in time and place of elections. It can set some conditions, but Donald Trump can't do it. He can't do it without Congress's help. He can't do it without our acknowledgement in states. So some states will break bad. Some states will undoubtedly adopt these enhanced identification requirements. But you know, the SAVE Act itself did not pass in Congress because so many Americans were aware of what was in it, and they were angry, and they called their representatives and they demanded that they not pass it, a Republican Congress. And if we can do that in Congress, we can do it in states like Texas and Alabama. We just have to understand that this is the critical issue. And as they gear up to suppress the vote this year, when maybe we're not thinking that much about the election, we need to always keep the election and our ability to vote uppermost in our minds. If there's one thing I'd encourage you to get involved in, it's your local League of Women Voters or any other pro-voting group that lets you be a part of that advocacy.